Darren. So will we see the other people or no? Or
I think Bill, are you seeing people on the right-hand side? I think you got to hit the arrow down to be able to see.
yeah, no, I just went to the full gallery, so now I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect. So I think what we'll do is we'll kick off our monthly Zoom meeting for tonight. We have a great guest. I hope that you're all ready for a fantastic presentation and ready to participate. So with that, Taylor, I'll let you introduce our guest.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Richard, and thank you everyone for being here. I've known Bill for a number of years now, and I'm glad to call him a friend. If it has to do with soccer, business, mental well-being, you name it, Bill's experienced it. So he had almost 20 years in the MLS, only one of 6 PRO coaches currently going around evaluating everybody. AR by trade, but also a coach of what, 40 years? Close to 40 years?
I just finished my 40th high school season.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
So without further ado, I'll introduce our speaker for the evening, Mr. Bill Dittmar.
All right, thank you. And it's great to be with you all tonight. I am on the East Coast, but fortunately I'm kind of a night person, so no big deal on that. My intention is that we have fun, that we learn, that we have fellowship, and that you feel like the hour that we spent together was worthwhile. It's not going to be just me talking. I've built a presentation that we're all going to need to kind of share and come up with things and help each other. So the first thing I like to do, just to get people used to using the chat box, just because I want you to know that that's how I want you to do it in some capacity. I want everyone in the chat box to put your favorite word as it relates to soccer. All right, so I'll start with mine. And let's see what we get here.
You
Respect.
took mine, Bill.
What's that? I took one? Yeah, I took yours.
You took mine.
We're on the same page. Respect. I see one so far. A goal. Goal. You got to put a little emphasis on that goal. All right. Goal. You got to keep going. Teamwork, friendship. All right. Keep going. Flexibility, challenges, passion again, love. I do not see it. Okay. I'm not sure if that's the word or all right, fair. That's kind of you're going to see that in my presentation tonight. Balance, passion again. All right. All right. Now, second word I want in there is your favorite post-game beverage. All right.
Yeah.
So I'll be a little Spanish for us today. Oops, I can't spell though. That way I can't get in trouble. All right. Aviator cocktail, milk, water, Sprite, water. All right. The people saying water. All right. That's good. I've been telling my team that the whole time, all year. All right. Excellent. All right. Well, now I know you know how to use chat box. That's a good start. All right. And I don't mind if you all put your cameras on. I mean, I love to see some of the expressions, and also if you're comfortable and you're not in a place where you don't want me to see your background or you want to blur the background, that's all cool with me. All right. So we're going to start tonight. The first thing that I kind of want to go over with you all is the topic, right, is going to vary. We're going to talk about reffing with all your senses and awareness. But what I want to start us with is kind of a little test for you. All right. And everyone's going to probably need to grab, well, you can just count in your head, but you're going to need at the end of this to put the result, the number, in the box, okay, in the chat box. So I'm going to share a video. It's going to be about 3 minutes, and you're going to do a little bit of counting, and then we're going to talk about that video. So I'm going to start this way. We'll go right here.
We're going to play a game specifically designed to test your spatial awareness.
Meet
the Brain Games.
You're good, Bill. It skipped on us, Bill.
Okay. We'll start over.
Specifically designed to test your spatial awareness.
Yep.
Meet the Brain Games Double Dutch team. Now, what does jumping rope have to do with the brain? Well, double Dutch requires off-the-chart spatial awareness. And today, these kids are going to help us test yours. For this game, all you have to do is keep track of the number of times that either of the girls in green jumps. You'll count each time one of them lands a jump, like this.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
As you can see, these jumpers are pretty quick on their feet, so you're going to have to pay attention to keep up. When the whistle blows, start counting. Ready? Go. So, how many jumps did the green team make? Did you say 38? If so, you agreed with 40% of our test audience. Now, some of you may be onto us, but for those of you who aren't, did you happen to notice anything else going on during the double Dutch? Maybe a giant chicken strolling right through the middle of the set and doing a funky chicken dance? Now, some of you may have missed that funky chicken, but many of you probably saw it. And that's okay, because the chicken was just there to distract you too. Here's the real question. What color was the wall behind the double Dutch game? Here's a hint. It wasn't the same color at the end as it was when they started jumping. The back wall was changing color the entire time, from bright blue to bright red. Nearly everyone misses it. But why? It turns out there's far too much information coming in through the eyes at any given moment for the brain to fully process all of it. As a result, the brain has to act like a spotlight, focusing our attention on some parts of the scene, but not others. Now, most of you were probably paying attention to the jumpers, and some of you may have suspected that something strange was going to happen, and so you saw the chicken. But you probably weren't paying attention to the back wall. And what we don't pay attention to, we don't see. And hey, for those of you who managed to catch everything so far, did you notice that we also swapped the rope turners out halfway through? Gotcha.
All right. So this is where I'd love, to see some people's expressions and stuff. But I guess the way we do this, since I can't see your faces, is in the chat box. I want you to put if you saw the chicken and if you knew the back of the wall. So either put yes or no, or did the video catch us? So no if you missed some of it, or yes if you got it all. Let me see what I get in the chat.
Yeah, no, Bill, that was a hard one. I even played Price is Right rules, so I went under when I was still wrong.
Yep. All right. I had 39. There we go. Nope, didn't see the chicken, right? So, a lot of times when I do this presentation, I watch it live, and it's hilarious just watching people's faces. I was watching TV counting, I could read his lips as he was counting, and I knew he was just focused in there. So, one of the main things that I want to make sure that we get out of this particular presentation is the fact that that phrase, what we don't pay attention to or what we don't focus on, we actually don't see, right? So, that's really, really critical. So for this first exercise that we're going to do, we're actually going to be looking at a bunch of still images, right? And in those still images, you're basically going to be able to give us your decision of whether we have a fair or we have foul. And the cool thing about doing it this way is there's no right or wrong answer. So there's really, I'm going to have to reshare here a second. So just give me a second to get that back for us. So basically what we're going to do is we are going to be looking at pictures, and I'm going to choose part of it. All right. And what I want you to do, and this is where people need to kind of, we're going to do a poll as we look through it, but you're going to actually have to do the poll and then we're going to talk about it. So as we get to that, this is basically called fair or foul. And we're going to focus on, I call it the anatomy of the soccer player. And what this is about is think about where most fouls come from, right? And what parts of the body do soccer players use to foul or to gain space or to shield the ball, etc. So, right, we have the arms, the hands, the shoulders, the elbows, the upper body, and don't forget the butt, right? The butt's a big part of soccer. Is how we keep our center of gravity low to get some momentum when we're going into a shoulder to shoulder tackle, but also how we use the butt to shield the ball and to keep our opponents away from it. So before we get to the videos, I want to share one little phrase that when I first started dating my wife a long, long time ago, 33 years ago, the poor girl's been with me. She met me and I was just getting into college soccer. I was playing college ball and then I started reffing it. And she was like, started coming to games. And she would constantly ask me, like, I don't get this game. Because sometimes you call that a push and other kind of times you don't call it a push. And why is that not a foul and why this is a foul? And I said, you know, besides the black and white of the rule book, you have to understand the game. And the best way I could describe to her on those type of fouls that I was calling or not calling was this concept. And you're not going to find this in the FIFA book or the IFAB book or anywhere probably. But this is Bill as a player, right? The guys shared that I've been coaching for 40 years. I've been playing for 53 years now, and I'm still ref in college. And you know, this is an important part of the game. I'm a midfielder, right? And so if I get to a spot on the field before you, because well, it's not my quickness anymore, but maybe it's my playing reading of the game, right? If I get to that spot before you, and then you even give me a small push that takes me off the ball or takes away my ability to play the ball like I would have been able to, that's a foul. All right. And so a lot of times that was what I used to share with my wife, are those kind of nuances where, you know, both people seem to get there and both play the ball, but actually one got there just a bit earlier, got a better position, and it was that small push that took them off the ball. So I want us to go in, you know, we all know what a push is for the most part and what a tackle is and all that type of stuff. But I want you to just remember this nuance is when you're in that middle zone of, I don't know, is that a foul or not? Think about, did that player that got pushed or foul, or I won't say foul there, gets pushed, gets knocked out of the way. Did that happen because they got there first and they deserve the right to that ball? All right. So we're going to start with our poll. And so basically, like I said, the cool part of this is there's no right or wrong answer because we don't know what happens before or after the picture. So we're going to send up a poll for you. And you got two questions. One is it a fair play or is there a foul? And then if you have a foul, like in this, you got to tell me, is it the orange player or is it the white player? Once we get the results of the poll, then we're going to talk about it together and kind of figure out what are we focusing on. All right. What are the clues that we're getting that are getting us to that conclusion? And once, like again, and you can pop that poll whenever you want up. But what I want you to realize is there's no right or wrong answer. It's all about how you justify it. Because this is about making sure we are focused on the right parts of the game. All right.
Hey, give me just a sec, Bill. I'm having problems with the poll.
Okay. No worries. Does anybody have a question with regards to that? And I'd like a little help since none of you are brave enough to put your pictures up here. So Kaylee, are you able to, without your picture up, are you able to put up like your hand like a question using those little icons? Or anybody? There we go, Elliot. All right. Excellent, Mark. Thank you. We got the thumbs up. All right. So that way, you know, if we don't get the poll, I can use that. All right.
I have a question, Bill.
Yes, Christine.
Hey, on the anatomy of the soccer player, you don't have feet in the list. Is that on purpose? You know,
I don't have
arm,
what?
shoulder, feet.
The feet?
Yeah.
I don't even know why I don't have feet there. They obviously are used to foul. All right. So I guess I'm not a foot dude. I'm not a foot person. All right, we got the poll up. All right. So far looks
We
like
got about half the people have responded so far.
yes. And we got about 50% going that way. All right, keep it going. All right, 100% answered. So we got 50%. Wow, that's crazy. We got 50-50. And we got 7% on the white player and 93%. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pull that poll aside. Now, here's where you all got to get involved. And remember, there's no wrong answer. So with regards to this, the first I want is somebody to tell me who has a fair play there. Just unmute yourself and just tell me what are the parts that you're seeing that are telling you you got fair here.
So Elliot's got his hand up.
All right, Elliot, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that both the players' bodies are moving forward, so it kind of looks like the orange player kind of came in with motion, meaning the white player was already there.
Okay. All right. So you have foul, right, Elliot?
Yeah.
And you have foul by the orange player?
Yeah, correct.
All right, excellent. And what I heard was you're looking at this and you're seeing the bodies moving forward and you feel like the orange player is initiating that contact. Therefore, you have foul. Good.
Yeah, they have the forward momentum there.
Forward movement. Okay. All right. Someone who has fair, come in and tell me what you're looking at here. Craig? Where'd Craig go? All right. I saw Craig's hand up. All right. Somebody else who has fair. Oh, Craig, you're muted. You're good, right?
I can give it a shot. I heard this great quote once. The player who earns the better position through reading the game with quickness. It's like reading there, it just got up, got the ball straight up. It looks like fair.
All right. So I love that, except for you misquoted a little bit.
Yeah, I let it run off. So
it wasn't the quickness that I was focused that I was able to bring to that. But in this case, yeah. So you're in your eyes, I'll paraphrase and then you jump in to fix me. I heard the orange player is actually reading the game and actually getting to the ball before or right at the contact. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what's one of the clues that would back your case on this? What's one thing of a specific point that we want to focus on?
His head on the ball?
Yes. Excellent. Right? Position of the ball. So in several of these that we have coming up, that's always one of those things that we need to focus on that gives us a clue is the position of the ball. Now, once again, like with Elliot earlier, Elliot's not wrong and you're not right and vice versa, because we really don't know the timing of this. This is why I like to do this with still pictures instead of video, because this is much more about what are we focusing on. Okay. There's one or two other things that I would like to point out to make sure we're seeing in here from this video. So what's another thing that would give you a clue, either foul or not foul? Darren, you got something?
Yeah, I'm looking at his hands and his position. He's taken a, for lack of a better word, defensive posture.
Yes.
He isn't trying to put his hands over his shoulders. He's not trying to vie for more space. Those are the two areas those are the focus that I'm looking at.
Excellent. Excellent. So anybody else have anything else on this? We've covered it pretty well, but if you have anything else, this is a good one. And you can just unmute and do it. All right. So for me, once again, I am not going that it's a fair or a foul, but the key things I want to recap is, one, we're making decision whether this looks like a soccer play or not. we're looking at kind of this symmetry of the play. So you got both players going up similarly at the same time potentially. But as Jacob pointed out, you might have the white player get in contact with, you see the body language there. They're going forward. When we get hit from behind, we tend to protect our head or our neck, right? But then we hit the other key points. Where's the ball, right? Where's the eyes? And where are the hands? Maybe Christine, that's why I didn't put feet in that earlier. Maybe now I got my answer. All right. So well done. Now we're going to go to the second one. Same drill. All right. This one I think is a little tougher. So let's get the poll up.
Is everyone seeing the poll?
Yeah, they're just
There we
slow
go.
to answer. They're really trying to. Now they're like, oh, I got to get this right. Remember, there's no right or wrong here.
Okay, about half of us have answered the poll so far.
We got a lot more fouls on this one, which I kind of expected. I can't remember. Are they seeing? They're not seeing the results as they come in, right? Only we are.
I don't.
Right?
I don't. No, they're
Correct,
just you
we're
and I
not.
are, Bill.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Good. So I
Yeah.
don't give stuff away.
We got about 72% responded.
All right. A few more of you
We
jump
good?
in there.
Okay, I'm going to end the poll. And here's our results.
Awesome. All right. Let me write that real quick. So for everybody, we got 93% as foul, which I kind of expect on this. But here's where the question mark comes. Is it against blue or is it against the player that's in red and black? So for our group, we got 64% blue and 36% black. So let's do the same thing here. Let's talk about it. Somebody who has the foul against blue, what are you seeing? What's your key things that are giving me that? I've Craig's hand. So Craig.
I'll try this again. Can you hear me?
Yep, you sound great.
We can.
Oh, perfect. Good. To me, it looks like the black player has position because the ball is in front of him, and the blue player is coming over the top of the player in black, causing the foul.
Yep. Excellent. All right. Craig, thank you for jumping in. Now, somebody who had the foul against the player that's kind of ducking underneath. Looks like Will.
So I went with the balls in the air, and the player in the black's feet are planted, which to me means it looks like he was shielding the ball and not making a play at it, and the blue player ran into him while he was shielding the ball.
Gotcha. Yep, and that's certainly possible too. We certainly could use that little cameraman behind there to help us out, but that's not the way this particular exercise works. Okay, so just to go into that. So you're feeling, which is definitely possible, maybe a second before this, that ball wasn't there yet. And he was just basically planting and leaning back. I said, putting that butt in there. And that's where the contact point is. So for you, you have the player on the ground making the foul, correct?
Correct.
All right. Anyone else want to jump in either way? All right. So whether either of those could be right. Now let's think about the focus points. All right, we're refereeing this match. And one of the neat things about refereeing and one of the skill sets we have to develop is we have to be just like a camera, right? We have to be able to go from macro lens to micro lens back to macro micro. There's no better example but when we're being an AR, because we're constantly looking, from a macro, seeing where the ball is, where's the referee, where's the last defenders, and we're kind of going through a cadence with that, right? I used to, when I was on the line in my head, I had a cadence that I would say, ball, last defender, referee, ball, last defender, referee, because I always needed to know where my teammates were, where the referee was. But of course, we know as an AR, we need to be focused on the ball and the last defender to make the call right. So once it became where I knew there was going to be a play, I'm reading the game, I know it's going to get played. Now I forget the referee because I've already kind of been paying attention. And now my cadence is last defender ball, last defender ball, last defender ball. Right? So there's that micro macro focus. And then we also got to get really micro when we're nowadays judging them by the tippy toe of their black shoe against the shoulder of the player's arm with the VAR and all the lines. So back to this point, what are a couple other key things here that we have to see and we have to focus on? Rachel.
At first, I was kind of looking at how the blue player's forearm and elbow are on the black player's back, but then I noticed how the black and red players' arms are behind them. You can kind of see the one over by the cameraman and
Yes.
how it looks like that person's shielding the ball and putting their arms out and behind them to make themselves larger.
Yep. So Rachel, I got to give you a big kudos because I've used this at least 4 times and no one has caught that hand, the hand back there. And this is the first time I've seen it. And I've looked at these probably 20 times. So fantastic point of focus. And now I'm going to have to remember that for the next one. So thank you. So yes, that gives us another clue, right? Of maybe why that blue player is coming down there. And the other key point is where that elbow is very important. Now, someone else had another point. They raised their hand.
Yeah, that was Elliot. Elliot, did you have something to add?
Yeah, kind of just reiterating. It looks like the player in black and red is really like leaning into that. I think the blue player came in a bit fast, but I think like we were saying before, the ball's in the air, and so the red and black player is really kind of defending the airspace, not really playing the ball per se.
Yep. So once again, great observation. All right, there's 2 other things because I want to move on to the next one, but I want to make sure we're all seeing. Let's say that and Jeremy, I'll get to you in a second after I say these 2 things. Let's say that it is the foul happening from the player underneath. Well, we still need to pay attention to 2 things about the blue player because we may have a foul against the player in red, but we may have misconduct either for one of 2 places on the player in blue. One is the potential elbow to the back of the neck. So that next movement, that secondary movement that happens after this contact, we got to be able to see both the initial, maybe it is the foul of the player underneath, but if that player on top comes down hard, now we're talking misconduct level. And then the other key one is we got it, and this is hard, right? Because we're looking at this big picture and we got to focus in. We got to see the potential of the blue player's legs scraping down the player's Achilles. Because that could be a second point of contact or a second point where we might have misconduct. So, just once again, proof that our job is super hard because we got to see all this in real time, but we also got to get the macro and micro lenses of our eyes to be able to focus to the key points, the key contact points. And this one has a whole bunch of them. Jeremy, you had a comment.
No, just going macro a little bit, right? There's no lines that we can see on the field. It depends on the angle, but this is either going to be on a touch line or a goal line, right? Based on where the wall is and the seating, right?
Yep.
And so you could be, this would be not an unheard of maneuver by a defender, right? Trying to let a ball go usually out for a goal kick. Sometimes out of touch for whatever reason. I would have thought it'd probably be at the end line, given the level of contact, if it's what my assumption is, which is like I'm shielding this out, right? And this white and blue player trying to get at the ball was what I saw. And so I had a foul on the white and blue player, but just things around without lines, it was hard to tell.
So great point. And so that's the point of this whole thing, right? is, boy, there's a lot of stuff coming at us. That's why I showed you that video and that phrase. What we don't focus on or what we don't pay attention to, we don't see. So part of refereeing, no matter what level you're doing it at, it's repetition, and it's seeing these type of fouls, these type of situations over and over and over thousands of times. One of the coolest things about my opportunity to be in Major League Soccer was in 19 years, I did about 275 games. And I gotta tell you, the game slowed up for me. And the game, even though it got faster and faster and faster every year, I was assistant referee. The game came at me in a whole different level of motion. Because I learned how to focus in and focus out and know what not to look at and what to look at. So that's true for every one of us. The more that we can be around the game, we can be watching TV games, we can be doing games. If you really start to think about, wow, you know, it's about what I focus on and what I pay attention to is what's going to give me the clues. All of us can constantly get better at that. So this is just to me, a great image to show you that. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to kind of speed this up just because you guys are doing great. On this one, let's go with we got the new poll.
Okay, it's launched. So about 41% of us so far have answered the poll. There's still about 10 people who haven't submitted their answers yet. I don't know. I think, Bill, we may have hit our number here. I'm gonna lot in the poll.
Yep, we're good. All right.
Here's the results.
So we got 41% fair, 59% foul, which is about what I normally see here. And I got 11% on gray, and we got 90% on red. So that's going to be interesting. So same drill. Somebody who maybe hasn't talked, just tell us what you picked and tell us what's telling you. So if you picked fair, just tell me what you see and why you think it's fair. And if you picked foul, tell me. All right, Jim.
So I chose foul on red because first I see his arm is wrapped around the gray player. So probably a holding there of some sort. And the other thing that was important to me was the fact that he appears to be more bracing for impact with the keeper than actually looking at the ball. Like he looks like he's looking downward, not looking at the ball at all. So how can you make a fair play on the ball if you're not even looking at it?
Excellent. All right. And how did you, Jim, how did you know that red was an attacker versus the defender?
Well, because the goalkeeper jersey has the same logo as the gray player.
Yep, that's our easiest clue, right? I was doing an AR coaching game. Actually, it was with TV up in Portland, and one of the things I pointed out to the assistant referee is they called a no offside, and the referee over the mic said which number was it, and the answer was the yellow shoes. And I commended them on that because if you think about it, in the flow of the game, a lot of times we can't see the numbers, right? But that AR was smart enough to be paying attention to distinguishing features of the players that they had to be watching. And because of that, they were able to give really good and quick info to the referee, where the referee was able to say to the sweeper, center back, which one kept him on.
You know, Bill, I think you left a crucial part out of that whole story out. that AR was Washington's own Cam Seidler. So just
Yes,
throwing it
that's
out
right.
there.
That's right. That's right. Yes, and can fix me up on those. I'm good with that. So, yes, so I'm glad that you caught that their sponsors were the same, but also I like what you said. We got we're in the penalty area. We got red, arm around, and we got the eyes. All right, now someone who had fair, because I think a lot of people, when I show this, has fair as a lot. What do you got here? Someone tell me what they're seeing. Darren.
Yeah, I agree that the red has the hand around the gray's stomach, but there's no impact from my perspective that his body isn't moving in that direction. That I don't know if the ball is coming or going at that point either. Maybe
Yep.
the ball was already headed. Most
Or
guys
punch.
close their eyes when they're in the midst of that interaction. So I would say that that was just a 50-50 ball.
Yep. Okay, that's a fair assessment. I've heard very similar. Potentially the goalie has already punched it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe the player headed it. All
Yeah,
right.
I mean, those are the two scenarios that come to mind as well. Yeah.
Yep. And one other thing that could go for your argument there is look at the legs and the angle the goalie's going, and you have much more of an angle into the red player than you got the red player into that. So potentially we could argue that way too. All right, here's the right or wrong, we don't know. Here's the key things I want you to take away from this. If the goalie clearly punches the ball out and we do have contact from that red player, I want you to all consider the safer and smarter call is to call this and go out. So why am I saying that? Right? Well, a couple of things play in here. And I'm not saying any of you were right or wrong in what we did because we don't know, right? But here's the things I do want you to consider. We are within the 6, right? If a goalie has a choice, my goalie, high school goalie, sometimes makes me wonder on this. But if a goalie has a choice, they're going to catch the ball. That's their number one go-to, right? So in this particular case, if that goalie had a choice with not red contact or red even being there, he's going to catch it. All right. But here's what I see happen all the time. These are types of plays we let play because the goalie does punch it out. And I am telling you, and when we get to the next segment that we're going to do in a few minutes, I'm telling you, you got to referee every part of the game, every call, and it's by itself, but you got to referee it in perspective of the whole match. All right. So with perspective of the whole match, this is one that I feel the safer answer with any contact like this is call the foul, go out, and we're good. All right. But once again, no right or wrong. All right. So these next couple, we're not going to do the poll. I just want to point out the key things because I want to get to the next part of this. But you guys are doing great. Exactly what I wanted. All right. So this one, the key things that I want to make sure that we're noticing. First, we're focused on the one at the top left. And I would assume most of us are going to have a foul here. The key things I want us to make sure we're seeing is that this is a full wraparound, right? And this is one where it goes back to my quote in the beginning. The player in blue has clear positional, they're in the best position, right? For this ball. They have control of the ball. They either, it looks like they're just playing it. And what I would wonder is how many people think that this is, where do you think this is happening on the field? Is this in the middle third? Is this in the attacking third, the defensive third? Somebody answer that question and tell me what you think.
I was gonna say it looks to me like it's somewhere either around the middle to attacking third, probably more to the attacking third because I don't see a center line anywhere. But.
Yep. There might be a center line right here, really light, but it's really hard to see. But I think you're right there, Jim. And here's the key point of that. These type of fouls happen much more in the middle third than they do, closer to goal. Because think about risk reward. If a defender is going to make a foul like this and it's so clearly a foul, they're really going to want to do this before it gets close to goal where there's going to be a goal scoring opportunity directly from that foul. Right? And then, defensively, they're going to be really smart about where they do this type of foul. So we don't know for sure, but these type of fouls happen a lot in the midfield. And remember this quote or remember this phrase: we win and lose games, and we establish game control in the middle third of the field. What we call and we take and show the players what we're going to accept in the middle third goes a long way to our refereeing success. Go ahead, Elliot. Elliot, you there?
Yeah, sorry, it wasn't unmuting. So for this one, it looks more like it's the attacking third, just because I can see the half tunnel coming through the stands there. So in the case that it is closer to the goal, would it be, even though it's a less physical foul, would it be a yellow card? Because it's such a close opportunity.
Yep, great point. So, nowadays we have been added the last couple of years stopping a promising attack. So that has to do with, right, the opportunity, the speed, and the numbers around. We see no other players around. So assuming you're right on that, yes, we would have a yellow card here, potentially for Spa. But even if we don't have Spa, it's such an egregious foul. This is the type of foul that pisses players off. So I would be fine if you give a yellow card for this blatant hold or for Spa, depending upon the circumstances. So that's a great point, Elliot. All right. The second one, the main thing I want, and this one I'm just going to kind of talk you to. The key things is, for me, we got symmetry in the jump, right? We got both players kind of going up, and they both seem to be playing the ball. We got the player that it looks to me like the white player maybe has just headed it, or they're ready to get the contact, and so that's why the eyes are closed. But the blue player is looking clearly at the ball. Players are taught, and we go up to protect ourselves. So the big part of this is, if we're going to have an elbow foul, it would be a secondary action. It's not going to be on the original action. So when we're focusing in, we're focusing on the primary action. So I don't have a foul here. If I did, it would probably be the white elbow if it continues on into the face of the other guy. But for me, this looks like a soccer play. And I don't think we should have foul here. I got two more slides I want to show you here. So this one at the top left, once again, we see this. This looks a lot like a soccer play. The player in black or dark blue seems to have broken free. So this is one we really want to wait and see, right? We don't want to blow this too early. The key points we're looking at, when someone's behind someone like that, most likely the foul's going to come up high. So to give you a clue on where the focus point is, this is not typically going to be a kicking foul. This is going to be a grab up top with that right arm of the white defender, because the blue player is clearly ahead of him. So that's another clue you get as a referee, is if players are trailing and one's clearly ahead, your focal point's going to be kind of from waist up. Whereas if they're more side to side, or the player's coming from the side, now you got to focus from waist down, because there's a chance for the tackle on the ball. So that tells you where you need to focus. So remember, this is all about where you focus in and focus out. The bottom picture, for me, once again, it's like the last one. It's pretty egregious. It's pretty much there. I'm not really sure if that player's going to get or gain control of that ball or get a good touch off it. So this is one I don't want you to let go if the player doesn't get a really good touch and right to his teammate. The other thing I said earlier is you got to remember players' emotions. This stuff pisses you off. All right. And if you let players get pissed off too much, then the game starts to get bad. All right. And then finally, with these pictures, two more pictures. And what I just want you to see here is this. To me, this looks like soccer plays. All right. This is what we want to see in soccer. We want people battling for a ball side to side. Look at the way the bodies are almost mirror images of each other, especially in the top left. And so, this is what we want to see. And that shouldn't get us all like, oh my God, we got a foul here. Whereas some of these other ones, there's no doubt. And then the one on the bottom right, potentially what happens next, we could have a little bit of a kick or a clip. But I just think the way the bodies are flowing and the play's going, this is soccer. All right. So here's the summation of this. We need to go kind of in this order, and I like it like this, these 3 R's. We need to read the play and read what's happening. We need to see the result of what happened, and then we react. Too often we jump and go too quickly. So the other way of saying that is similar to see, consider, then act, right? See the play, focus in on the key points, consider your options, and then take action. This is a big key to refereeing, and so much of refereeing is about options. The next thing that, is from this closing out this part, it all starts with our ability to know how to focus and what to focus in on. And that doesn't matter whatever level you're at. This is good stuff for soccer referees, right? Because we can all get better at this. And I've done 1,600 college games, and I'm still doing college games. And I'm learning every day. And I'm constantly trying to get better at this type of stuff. Is what did I look at? Where was I looking? And what were the key points of the play? All right. So as all good things, time flies when you're having fun. So I want to make sure I get through this next part for us. This is the part about reading the game. And there's a couple key things that I want you to be thinking about. I look at soccer and I look at all kind of sports. Like I just watched the hockey playoffs and I love hockey, soccer, basketball. They're all the same. And it comes down to time, space, and numbers, right? So what are we trying to do? We're trying to basically get the ball as quickly as possible to where we have numerical superiority, and then attack and hopefully potentially get a goal, right? So it's about time, space. Where's there space on the field that we want to get the ball to, and how do we get the ball through that space to get to a point where we have numbers? So a big part of reading the game is you got to be like a chess player. You got to be 2 or 3 steps ahead. We got to be thinking where the play's going. And how do you do that? Part of the way you do that is you constantly analyze the field. You got to analyze where the numbers are. I play midfield, and I was taught at a very early age that every time the ball's out, I'm looking around the field and I'm seeing where the numbers are. I got 2 defenders on the left side, only 1 on the right. And I got 2 attackers there, so that's where the balls should go. Right? So that's the importance of this time, space, and numbers. Is just like players do, we need to read the game like a player, and we need to always be thinking, where's the drop zone and where's the next place or 2 where this ball should go. Now, they don't always execute it that way, but we can be thinking that way. All right, I mentioned this earlier. Where fouls happen, there's the attacking third. Let's say we're going this way. The attacking third's here. You got the middle third and defensive third. One of the biggest things I want you to take away from tonight is the importance of the middle third. The middle third is where you set up the game and you call the simple fouls, keep the game simple, and make sure everyone knows how we're going to play today. All right. And then I want to introduce this concept of chips. All right. I like to play cards sometimes. So I want you to think, I was coaching a crew down in Nashville a couple years ago. And one of the key things that we have to realize is the game is 80, 90 minutes long, right? And too often, us as referees, we kind of referee the game foul by foul without really a true understanding of how everything we do, whether it's a no call or a call, a foul or not foul, it starts to accumulate and builds up either to a positive type of game or a negative type of game. So here's where my concept of chips come in. Assume that you come into every game with a few chips in your bag. Hopefully, maybe they don't know you. They already don't think you're a bad dude. And, you didn't have them last week and have a big problem. But you come in with a little bit of chips. And those chips are, you're wearing the badge. You're there to referee. Someday soon, we're going to be more appreciated because there's less referees out there. And they're eventually going to figure out without us, the game doesn't go on. So let's assume we come into the game with a few chips. All right, maybe it's 10 chips. Now, the game starts and we blow the first whistle. And a play goes and there's a play on. and ups, we react too quickly and we blow a good play on. Well, guess what? You just lost a couple chips. All right. And then the next play happens, and then we get a foul call and you call it, and maybe you gain back a chip because now they're like, okay, he or she does know what's going on out here. So think of the game that way. Is yes, every call, like we're looking at these fair or foul pictures, is an incident in itself, but it's really not in itself in context of the whole game. So the way we can kind of keep track of our chip balance and the whole game is by our chip balance. So hopefully as the game's going on, you're gaining chips versus losing chips. But sometimes it doesn't go that way. So here's the next thing I want to show you. So there's 3 facets of the game. Whoops, I'm sorry. That are very important for us to kind of get a feel of what's going on in the game and things that it's our job to take care of. So on the left side, you got game flow, right? If we're constantly killing the game, once again, we piss off people, we piss off players, you're going to be losing chips. If you do some good play-ons and you understand the game, you're gaining chips when it comes to game flow, right? Game control, same thing. And that's where we're going to spend a couple minutes on. But game control, easy place to gain chips or lose chips. And then finally on the right is kind of like the player's reaction and the environment. And I'm mostly focused here on the player's reactions. I'm not as focused on what the parents think or what the coaches think. And I'm a coach, and I'm telling you that. I don't matter, all right? It's the players on the field. So those 3 things all kind of help us create either a sense of balance and a sense of control or a sense of chaos and a sense of like totally out of control. So if you can follow this graphic here, the green represents a game that's flowing and we got a good balance between these 3 parts. And then the yellow on the outside is when something happens, and depending upon what we do, we either change the picture or we keep it green. And of course, the orange or red on the outsides, we don't want to get there. So potentially this is how we want the game to stay, right? But here's sometimes what happens. We've maybe let too many things go early. We've missed those things that piss players off in the midfield, right? We've blown play-ons or whatever those are. Or potentially, even though you called something, some player did some crazy foul and you didn't deal with it strong enough. So if we start to feel our game in this yellow zone, we got to start to do things to get back chips, right? And part of that is getting back control of the game. Sometimes it's slowing up the game. Sometimes it's being more deliberate on places of throw-ins and things like that, just to get the game a little bit chill. But hopefully the 4 that I can see your hands, is this concept of the green or the yellow making sense? Yep. All right. So we only got a few more minutes. So let's look at some specific fouls and what they do. Okay. So certain types of fouls like shielding, if it happens and it's fair and you leave it go and people know you understand the game stays in green. If it's a shield, but the ball's not in playing distance and it causes that big collision, now if you don't call it, that green spot's going to chill. It's going to get a lot smaller, right? So what I'm trying to show here is certain types of fouls, charging's another one, all right? If we get a good fair shoulder charge, both players get there at the same time, the contact is the shoulder to shoulder, and we recognize it, we stay in the green. If one player gets there a little bit too early, or there's a secondary action with the elbow or the arm, or one player actually comes in late and gets the back and we don't deal with it, that will change this from green to yellow. All right. Another one here is holding. Now this one's really tricky because this one is what I said earlier. If we don't deal with holding, and sometimes it's calling it, sometimes it's giving a yellow card like Elliot said really well done earlier. If we don't recognize these type of fouls and don't deal with them, we might call 5 holding offenses and you're thinking, well, I'm calling it every time I'm calling it, but why is everyone getting pissed at me? Well, because you're not taking it to the next level and you're losing chips. All right. So you got to realize holding, pushing, and pulling is a lot in a lot of cases, a lot more important to make sure you're dealing with the second part of it versus not just calling it. All right. And then the biggest one is the lower body tackles. All right. This is where people's careers end. This is where people get hurt. And this is where we have to be super diligent to make sure we are always keeping the game in the yellow here. Because a tackle like this can take the whole game to that red zone and you lose it before you can get it back. So this is especially in that middle third where if you have any doubt on a tackle, oh, he got the ball. Yeah, but he came in like a maniac. All right. So we're not having that today. So, just because someone touches the ball doesn't mean you can take someone's leg out. Remember, endangering the safety of the opponent. So this is a really, really critical one I want you to be paying attention to. And the key point is that you're realizing we control the game staying in the green or getting to the yellow or getting to the red. And it's not just one foul at a time. It's the cumulative nature and the environment that you have to be managing to be a successful referee. All right. So I'm at 11 o'clock. Well, 11 o'clock my time. I'm at our time here. Hopefully you guys will invite me back because there's tons more we can chat about. But I want to see if anyone has a final closing question. And then I do want to close this with a certain slide. So anybody have a final question?
I'm not seeing anything in the chat.
Okay. So to close this out, I want you to remember a couple key things, right? We'll recap. The first is so much of the game is about knowing where and what to focus on and seeing the big picture, but being able to prioritize and get into those micro pictures as well, right? The second is that we can always get better at it. We're always a student of the game, and the more games we do, the more the game will slow up, the more you'll see these things, and the more training. So I commend everyone for being here for the training. The next thing I want to make sure you get is this concept that the game is not controlled by calling a single foul at a time, right? It's a mixture of the cumulative effects of the fouls. And if you can constantly keep the game in the green, you're gaining chips, and you're going to need those chips later. And that's how you do a successful game. And then finally, why do we do what we do? All right. There's a lot of reasons. For me, a lot of it's the camaraderie, it's the challenge, it's the brotherhood, the sisterhood. But I kind of want to end with this poem, and it's the poem on the left, and it might be hard to read, so I'm going to read it to you. It's "You scored, Billy, a dribble, a thrust, a power shot that carried high into the net. Their goalie tried desperately leaping to his left, but never had a chance. As you looked over toward my approval, you knew we kicked it in together." And that's Rich Dittmar, my dad, June 1976. I'm telling you my age. But that's a poem from my father when I was 11 years old playing. And I never saw it till I was 18 when I first started college ball. That poem is, to me, a lot of why we do what we do, right? Is without us, nobody gets to kick it in together. So I want you to kind of end tonight with that. On the right side is a whole bunch of things in communications. Every time you can learn, be learning and see how you can use it on the soccer field. So I hope to see you again. I hope you have a wonderful evening. And remember, we're all here because we allow others to kick it in with our help. And let's enjoy that together and continue the brotherhood. All right. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. I appreciate everyone being here tonight. I don't want to speak for Bill, but if you happen to think of any questions, by all means, you can shoot them our way and we'll send them to Bill. Not to say names, but I think you'd be extremely foolish not to send a question to Bill. This is 20 years in the MLS, one of 6 PRO coaches in the league. That is absolutely insane that we have Bill on here tonight. So we really appreciate you being here. Hopefully you'll be up in the Pacific Northwest soon enough. Oh, and you put your email already on there. So, so thank you very much, Bill. We appreciate you being on tonight.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody. Good to see you. A lot of names, a lot of old friends and new friends.
Yep.
Great. And then just to close this out, just a reminder, this is our combined May and June Zoom meeting with Memorial Day. And then the last weekend in June, hopefully you'll all be out at the Washington Premier Tournament, helping to cover the games down there on that Monday night. So we'll see you next time on the 4th Monday in July. Have a good evening, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. Thanks, Jonathan.